Welcome, everybody, to the Paranormal Portal. It's Saturday night, and as always, we got 2 full hours of fun and festivities celebrating the paranormal world in which we live. So I hope you guys are all ready for it, because I think I am. I've been kind of ready to go for a while now, which is weird, but I was just spending a lot of time sitting here, getting my game face on. This is it. What do you think? That's a remark for YouTube listeners only, or viewers only, because all of you guys out there listening via just audio, you don't know what the hell I look like. So hopefully it's agreeable, though, whatever it is. I hope you're having a good weekend. Thank you so much for dedicating a part of your weekend to hanging out with us here on the show. It's always a really big deal. To me personally, I was just sitting here just a while ago, and swear to God, I was just like, there's people that really want to hang out and listen to what I have to say. There's people that want to hear what I think, man. And that is just such an incredible feeling. Thank you all so very much for being a part of what we're doing here on the portal. It's just amazing. But I'm not alone here, folks. I am joined by the first branch of my personal family tree. My eldest youngin, my son Sheldon, is here. Welcome, Sheldon. How you doing?
Doing great, doing fine. Here I am, the thickest branch in the woods.
The thickest branch.
I don't know.
I said you're the first branch. I don't know about that thickest, but I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we're going with this, but yeah, you're the branch. How's everything going?
Oh, it's going wonderful. We had some thunderstorms, so that was really nice. So, yeah, everything's great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. That's one thing I kind of miss about being here versus being back in Minnesota is the thunderstorms. Those are always so much fun. I love to watch them because I just love that energy, that natural awe and wonder of watching a thunderstorm. I know they're dangerous, and I really feel bad when people get hurt and terrible things happen as a result of those storms. But it's just such a humbling, centering feeling for me to sit there and just watch them. I don't know, the rumble of those thunders and the flashes of lightning and the sheer power of it is just awesome for me. So I hope you enjoyed it for me as well.
I did. I enjoyed it for the both of us. It was pretty awesome hearing that rumbling throughout the day, actually. It was.
Yeah, that is really cool. But we have a whole bunch of paranormal goodness to get to, of course. But before we go any further, I'd just like to say, take a moment to say thank you to Cryptid Coin, who sponsors the Paranormal Portal. Cryptid Coin is a newer cryptocurrency that has its heart in cryptid research and investigation. So I know a lot of people are starting to look at alternative investment options because of the well, I mean, there's a lot of what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Instability in the traditional markets, and a lot of people are worried about what's going to happen in the future. Of course, I don't pretend to know. I'm not telling you if it's a good idea or not, but I did get asked once on the comment thread, well, are you invested in cryptid coin? And I said, yeah, actually I am. So it is something that I put my money where my mouth is, but I'm not encouraging you to invest. I'm just saying it's there, folks. And I think it's an awesome opportunity. So if you're looking for a possible crypto investment, this might be the one for you. Head over to cryptidcoin.io to learn more. Again, that's cryptidcoin.io. So check it out. It's available on PancakeSwap, so it's even easier to get involved. So thank you to Cryptid Coin for being a part of the show and for helping to make the Paranormal Portal possible. We really appreciate it. So check it out. Sheldon?
Yeah?
What do you say about some news?
I'm always ready for some news.
All right, let's get to some news, folks. Hang on to your seats. We're going in. All right, folks, welcome to the Paranormal Portal news desk as we dive into all things paranormal and news. And sometimes it's paranormal news, and sometimes it's just weird news, and sometimes it's just news. But in any case, I hope that when you leave here, you learn something you might not have known before, or heard something you might not have heard before. And hope you enjoy it all the same. I like doing the news. To me, it's a fun little side gig within the portal, and I love these segment things. So let's get to the first article up for bat tonight. Here, I've curated a bunch of articles for your viewing and listening enjoyment. The first one is I don't know. This one's kind of interesting, and you know, I've known that there are people that have a condition called hydrocephalus. And I don't know if this is what this article is about. I just saw the headline. I'm like, well, let's talk about this because this is interesting. But what are known as water babies or water heads and stuff, and basically they have an abundance of water in their cranial cavity and not much brain matter. But there are many people that have what?
Oh, I just said, oh.
Yeah, so there are some people that you know, and it kind of defies the expectation, but and maybe this is what this article is going to tell us as well. But there are some people that have survived hydrocephaly and went on to lead normal lives, even though the collective gray matter of their brain material was just a thin coating on the outside of their skull due to the hydrocephalus. And so they went on to lead normal lives with normal IQs and stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And maybe to me, what it suggests is maybe intelligence isn't linked directly to the brain, but maybe the brain's like a focal point for our intellect to come through. But at any rate, let's check out this article and see what they're saying here. I don't know. I guess I thought that was kind of neat to learn that people had hydrocephalus and really had a small percentage of what would be normal amount of brain matter and still led normal lives with a normal IQ. I thought that was really interesting. But let's see what the article says. This is unexplained-mysteries.com, ladies and gentlemen. How can a person live normally with part of their brain missing? Well, I think I know several.
I was waiting for a joke.
Thank you. I'm here all night. Incredibly, many people have gone on to live healthy, normal lives, even with sections of their brain absent. In a recent interview, Game of Thrones star Emilia Clarke spoke about being able to live completely normally after 2 aneurysms, one in 2011 and one in 2013, that caused brain injury. She went on to have 2 brain surgeries. An aneurysm is a bulge or ballooning of the wall of a blood vessel, often accompanied by severe headache or pain. So how can people survive or thrive despite having, as Clarke put it, quite a bit of missing from her brain? The key to understanding how brains can recover from trauma is that they are fantastically plastic, meaning our body's supercomputer can reshape and remodel itself. Yeah, I think then that happens with people that are stroke victims as well. They talk about the brain needing to rewire its neural pathways and basically come up with a plan B since plan A is kind of messed up. And I think that that's fantastic. Now, this is a very long article, and I didn't really realize that when I pulled it, but I think that there's plenty of evidence to suggest that people don't need a full brain to live a normal life, and even without even signs of disability, which I think is phenomenal. Again, I think that may point to the fact that the brain is more of a mechanism than the actual source of what we are. I think we get so attached to our bodies, and we kind of assume that, well, this is where everything we think is. But maybe it's just a place that holds memory and function more than anything, and then the true us doesn't rely on the actual brain per se, but more as a mechanism rather than a source. So if you're interested in reading more about it, head over to unexplained-mysteries.com, and you can read more about this article and her fantastic recovery and going on to live a normal life. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's stories I've read that's people missing like legitimately half their brain can function normal lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the example I was bringing up at the lead-in, really there's like maybe a 10% amount of brain tissue in this one gentleman's head, and he lived a normal, completely disability-free life, and he had a normal IQ and everything. So that was kind of, when I learned about that, I was really blown away, because we usually do equate what's between our ears as our ability to function, but maybe it's not just that way, you know?
Just to clarify, did you say 10% left or 10% missing?
No, like just with 10, or I think it was 18% was the actual number. So it was like he only had like 18% of the normal amount of gray matter.
My God.
And he lived a normal and fine life. So I'm shooting those stats from the hip, because this is something I read years ago, but it just blew me away so much. I know it was a teen percentage, It was like some teen percent. And I believe it was 18%, but it might have been 13. So at any rate,
Wow.
that's phenomenal. So we are not just the sum of our parts, ladies and gentlemen, I guess is the takeaway there. We're more than that. We have our source is somewhere else. I really believe that. So anyway, let's continue on with our news and get to the next article up for bat tonight. And this one is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this one is, I don't know if this one's really exciting or not, but it's a UFO festival, so why not? I guess one of the big celebrations, I think, in recent times is that we're kind of back to normal. Thank God, because I think we all were. Even though I'm a hermit by nature, I got to tell you that the whole 2-year stint of the lockdowns and isolations and stuff, I think it wore heavy on a lot of people and caused a lot of problems, but it's really refreshing to see people out and doing stuff again. You're just living normally. So that's kind of the good thing. But in the news, unexplained-mysteries.com reports the Kecksburg UFO Festival returns after 2-year hiatus. So that's going on. In fact, I just talked to Tony Merkel today of the Confessionals, and he was attending a Bigfoot conference in Tennessee. And it's just great that those things are going on again, because it's such an awesome opportunity for people to get out, mix and meet and talk with maybe like-minded people, some of the people that they may listen to, like Tony or other people, or, authors or presenters. And, of course, I'd just like to point out that, again, we'll be at the Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah from the 8th through the 11th of September. So we'd love to meet some of you guys there if you can make it. So, Kecksburg UFO Festival returns after 2-year hiatus. Pennsylvania's most iconic UFO incident is to be honored once again, 57 years after the event itself took place. The incident began on December 9th, 1965, when thousands of witnesses across several states observed a peculiar fireball that dropped hot metal debris as it blazed through the heavens. Despite the sightings being fairly widespread, however, it was a small town of Kecksburg in Pennsylvania that would become most closely associated with the incident. It started when a young local boy claimed to have seen the object landing in nearby woods, and his mother later reported it to the authorities when she saw strange blue wisps rising from the trees. Several locals, including members of the fire department, went out to investigate the scene and found an odd acorn-shaped object the size of a small car with strange writing on its surface. Within a short space of time, there were reports of an intense military presence at the crash site, with Army officials ordering civilians away from the scene while the object was being loaded onto a truck. The incident was later played down as nothing more than a meteor impact. However, many people still believe that the military had been covering up something a lot more significant. To this day, no definitive explanation for what has happened has ever been found. So, enduring is the mystery surrounding the incident. In fact, that a festival is still held in Kecksburg each year to celebrate its significance to the local area and to renew efforts to find out exactly what happened. Although it was delayed for 2 years due to the coronavirus pandemic, the festival is returning this year and will help to raise money for the local fire department. A news report covering the event can be viewed below. Well, I think we'll skip that, but the news report.
I mean, that's really cool that they're using the event to raise money for local stuff like the fire department and whatnot. That's really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of these festivals, I think, do that. They usually benefit some sort of local efforts or charities and stuff, as well as hopefully fund future festivals. So I think a lot of those festivals roll into their own person back out to hopefully grow and expand the next year. But pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Well, the drones over in TFR. How you doing, Drone? Good to see you. But that's from unexplained-mysteries.com. Let's go to the next one. And we got 11 minutes. Where the hell's my mouse? There it is. Found it.
All the time.
What's that?
I said all the time.
Yeah, it goes quickly. I got a bunch more to get through here, too. So the next one up, this one's kind of a cool discovery. This isn't really paranormal per se, but it's definitely not normal. So let's read this, unexplained-mysteries.com. Please check out that site, ladies and gentlemen. A phenomenal site. As if you're familiar with the Paranormal Portal news, I cover these articles quite extensively. and they do just an amazing job. But here's an article from unexplained-mysteries.com. Hidden Van Gogh painting or portrait discovered beneath painting. That's really wild. How'd you like to do that? Go to like a flea market or something and buy some I don't know, dorky painting and stuff, and you peel up the painting, and underneath it is like a Rembrandt or a Van Gogh or a Picasso or something. Be like, oh, what a gift. A never before seen self-portrait of the 19th century artist has been discovered using X-ray imaging. One of the best known and influential artists of all time, Vincent van Gogh, is behind many of the world's most recognizable paintings, such as Sunflowers and The Starry Night. Now, though, the number of works attributed to the Dutch artist has increased by one, thanks to a chance discovery of an entirely new painting hidden beneath Head of a Peasant Woman. The find was made by experts at the National Galleries of Scotland when X-rayed the canvas prior to putting the painting on display at an exhibition. The hidden image was covered up by layers of glue and cardboard. Oh, no. And appears to be a self-portrait of the artist that has never been seen before. When we saw the X-ray for the first time, of course, we were hugely excited, said senior conservator Leslie Stevenson. This is a significant discovery because it adds to what we already know about Van Gogh's life. Van Gogh, who suffered from severe depression leading up to his suicide at the age of just 37, sadly never saw success during his lifetime, but was only recognized after his death. That's the case for a lot of artists, though. That's really tragic. These days, many of his works are valued at tens of millions of dollars. So I don't know. Did they uncover it then, and now it is a sketch, or is it still lying buried under the glue and cardboard, or what? I don't know what that means. Did they expose the actual piece, or did they just know it's there? I don't know. They never.
Good point.
Really...
They said they use X-ray imaging, so that we don't even know. Yeah, true.
Yeah, we don't know if they actually then painstakingly took it apart just to display the sketch of the self-portrait, I guess, of the artist. But at any rate,
how would you handle a situation like that if you just bought something because it was cool, but it had some huge discovery underneath it? Would you give it away to research and whatnot, or would you keep it as a cool little souvenir?
Give it away? Hell no. I would sell it away maybe, but I don't know about giving it away. If I had a Van Gogh, I wouldn't be like, here, I just believe in the art community so much, take it. No, I'd be like, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start the auction now.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I did say tens of thousands of dollars. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, I'm sorry, tens of millions. Actually.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm all for letting it go to some place that might enjoy it, but they got Daddy needs some new shoes first.
You got to pay the tax first.
That's right. So I don't think I'd need to keep it, but I'd need to be compensated for my amazing discovery.
Aggravated said it best. It belongs to humanity post-auction.
Amen. Great minds, folks. Great minds.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next one here on the newscast. And this one is coming from, of course, unexplained-mysteries.com. And the article is, cue the screen, mystery marine creatures found washed up on beach. Ooh. And this doesn't surprise me even a little, considering we've explored like 5% of the oceans, or up to 15%, and that's it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that'll be washing up that we don't know about yet. Park staff at Cape Lookout National Seashore, that's kind of a seashore. She stole seashells, so whatever. Posted up images on the organisms to ask if anyone could help identify them. Resembling long black tentacle-like creatures, or structures rather, with small bristle-like protrusions down either side, these peculiar marine creatures were found washed up on a beach in North Carolina last week. Wow. Maybe it's like Stranger Things, right?
It's the promotion
it's from the upside down, yeah. Weird things found on the beach. Okay, everybody, we need some help identifying these objects. Staff at Cape Lookout National Seashore wrote in a Facebook post accompanying the images. Our turtle patrol found them in the Oceanside beach recently, adjacent to a log covered in gooseneck barnacles. No idea if they were connected to the log or just a coincidence. So far, we're stumped as to what they might be. They were about 6 inches long and no longer alive. Our guess is they might be a form of sea cucumber or sea slug, but they couldn't be matched to any images that were posted online. The posting soon generated quite a few replies, with users suggesting a number of explanations, including the possibility that these could be some form of bristleworms or fireworms. Several indicated that they were likely to be some form of marine polychaete. I don't even know how to say that for sure, but that's what I'm going with. While admitting that it would take a marine biologist specializing in the annelids to determine exactly what type they could be. You can check out the original posting and images below. Well, there's the images for those of you on YouTube, and they just look like sandy caterpillars. They look like caterpillars with sand on them, for those of you that are just listening. So, I mean, they're not extraordinarily remarkable, but they look like long, dark caterpillars with fuzzy legs off the sides with what looks like sand all over them. So, there you go. Brand new discovery, though. We're learning more about our world all the time, Sheldon.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes.
I mean, that thing's creepy, actually.
You thought so? Really?
I think it's kind of creepy. You know, it feels like it's going to jump on you and suck out your blood type of thing, you know?
Well, yeah, you might need to, like, quit watching so many movies, but why the hell do I have this? I didn't know I had this. This one.
Also, do we have any callers?
Nope, no callers. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Someone was asking on what the number was, so there might be one coming up.
There might be a call, but if there is, just wait till after the first break if you wouldn't mind, if you're thinking of calling in. Here's this one I'm going to wait till next Wednesday, though, because it's really, I think it has a video attached to it, and I don't want to try to show a video for only part of the audience. Let's check out the next one. Plus, I don't know how much time we got here. We're down to 3 minutes, so only got about time for one more as it works out. Let's go to this one. This one's from the Wayback Machine in the archives, and this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Dead Australian leaves hospital.
What?
Let me repeat that. Dead Australian leaves the hospital. An investigation is underway after paramedics wrongly assumed an accident victim had died at the scene. 30-year-old Daniel Huff had become trapped upside down in his car outside of Melbourne in April. And again, this is from May 12, 2012, so it's not brand new. Paramedics worked on him for some time before eventually pronouncing him dead. His body was left in the wreckage for up to an hour as the police conducted an investigation of the crash. But when they went to move his remains, they discovered he still had a faint pulse. Incredibly, Daniel not only survived, but went on to make a full recovery. We know that it is a miracle that Daniel can walk, read, speak some recognizable words, write logical messages, and recognize his visitors, says his father. Wow. So he was pronounced dead, and they just left him in the wreckage while they just looked at the scene. And
technically, he's a zombie.
I guess you're kind of right, aren't you? You're not wrong. He was dead and came back. However, I don't think he has a diet that consists of brains yet. So as long as he's not eating brains, he's welcome to be among us. Starts craving brains, he's got to go. That's really wild. Again, it's the way it works, I guess. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's about where we're going to wrap up the news. So let's get back to the rest of the show just before the break. And then we'll continue on our journey, and we're going to come back from break and do some ghostly tales from Thought Catalog, and then we're going to get into some Dogman stuff and even a couple of reports from Sasquatch Chronicles. So don't go anywhere, but let's close it out and get back to the regular show. Actually got to flip scenes there, don't I? There we are. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the regular part of the show. And welcome, as always. We are going to take a break here in just a minute. As I mentioned just before the break, earlier in the newscast, rather, let me pull this up, because I want to let people know if if any of you out there are able to make this. I hope you can, because that would be a lot of fun to get the chance to meet some of you guys out there that are tuning into these shows and the podcast as well. So we're going to be in Phenomicon. And this is September 8th through the 11th in Vernal, Utah. Again, we've talked about it many times on the show, but again, we're talking about it again. If you go to phenomicon.net, you're going to learn more. So check it out. All these presenters, all of these activities, head to phenomicon.net to learn more. Phenomicon, September 8th through the 11th, Vernal, Utah. Check it out. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, for more of the Paranormal Portal. Don't go away.
Tenderloin in San Francisco.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on the Paranormal Portal as we dive into the second half hour already. It's cruising by, but thank you so much for joining us here on the show. It's always an absolute pleasure. We do now, Sheldon, have a call waiting.
Aha, there we go.
All right, so let's get to this call and find out just what's going on. And hello to caller from area code 806. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent, it's me, Brooks.
Hey, Brooks, how you doing?
Hi, Brooks.
Hey, Sheldon. Hey, Paranormal peeps.
We're all here. What's on your mind tonight, Brooks?
You were talking about the transplant patient. Well, a few weeks ago, I met a man that told me and my son about his experience having a heart transplant.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
he said, I don't tell people this story because they think I'm crazy.
Okay.
And I don't know what possessed him to tell us, but he did. But he said he got his transplant, and when he woke up, all he saw was this beautiful art. It was just gorgeous. He couldn't, that's what he was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor came in and said, how are you doing? And he said, I think I'm hallucinating. And the doctor said, no, you're not, and left. Well, he still had these visions of this beautiful art.
Uh-huh.
And then he saw this woman on a beach. And she looked at him and waved at him and then kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get to meet your donor's family for a year, is what he said.
Okay.
So then he met the mother of his donor.
Okay.
And it turned out that this donor was a professional artist, and it was a woman.
Oh, wow.
And she had brought some examples of her art that she did, and he had been seeing her art.
Oh, my God. That's
And
really
then
cool.
And then she showed him a picture of her, and he said, that's the woman I saw on the beach.
Oh, neat. That's really cool.
And isn't that cool? So then he had another doctor's appointment, so he goes in, and the doctor said, well, how are you doing? And he said, I'm still hallucinating.
Uh-huh.
And the doctor told him, he said, no, you're not. He said, it is extremely common with transplant patients to have this. It's called cell memory.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's really amazing.
And so, isn't that amazing? And then he proceeded to say that there was this couple in the waiting room, and he said they were hardcore Harley backers with the leathers
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. And he kind of brought that up and said, hey, this man had a heart transplant as well.
Okay.
And the wife said, oh, yeah, for sure. She said, we have always been, hard rockers. And she said, he can't listen to hard rock anymore. And he said, it's driving me crazy. It's driving all of our friends crazy. All he can listen to is classical music.
Oh, wow.
And come to find out, his donor was like a first chair in an orchestra.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
That's really cool. I have
Mm-hmm.
heard a story like that. This was years and years and years ago, but there was this guy who was a health food nut. And I don't know what happened. He had some kind of congenital defect in his heart or something like that. But this guy was always exercising, eating healthy, and all this stuff. And he had some kind of transplant. And I don't remember exactly what it was that was transplanted. I don't think it was a heart, but it was something else. But after his surgery, he suddenly had this unbelievably fierce craving for chicken McNuggets. And he couldn't help himself. He would be in the drive-thru getting orders of chicken nuggets and stuff from McDonald's, and he couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And like you're talking about, he finally found out who his donor was, and he was like a 20-some-year-old guy that had this huge passion for McDonald's chicken nuggets.
Uh-huh.
And it's fascinating. I don't think that I mean, maybe there is such a thing as cell memory. I don't know, but I think it maybe is more energetic than that. I don't know. Maybe I'm absolutely wrong, but it seems like some transference of something energetic, but maybe it is just cell memory but it just kind of seems to make it less beautiful to think of it as just a collection of cells that's has a memory. You know what I mean?
Ron the Sage.
Crazy.
Sorry. Ron the Sage in chat was saying that some scientists believe that I don't know if he said all memories or some memories were stored in the nervous system.
Well, that's interesting, and that's a pretty cool take because I know that people talk about the gut biome being like the second brain, and so maybe there is something to that. That's possible as well. I mean, it's anybody's guess, but those stories are really profound. I think, I mean, it almost speaks to something more to me, but maybe that's because I want it to be something more too.
It's hard to know,
right?
But that is really cool. Very strange. We just have so much to learn. We have so much to learn.
I know. Well, believe me, my son and I both believed what he was saying. He was very sincere about it.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. That's really, really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. I find that stuff absolutely fascinating. Really, really, and truly.
Oh.
I do too.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Well, y'all have a good night.
All right, Brooks. Thanks for calling in and being a part of the journey tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, Brooks.
All right.
All right. Good night.
All right. Good night.
That is really
Ron the Sage brings up a good point. He says, why can't it be both?
Maybe it could be. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I just think saying, hey, the cells in there remember something else. And so they're, it's communicate because it's giving the guy hallucinations. So it's not like, geez, I got this weird craving for painting all of a sudden. It's like he's seeing visions, and that's seems so much more profound than just some cellular memory. If he decided to suddenly, start painting and didn't really understand why, maybe, that, but it just seems so much more powerful. Like it's giving him visions and giving him hallucinations when he's awake, and
it seems more. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like it's more powerful than just little slight cravings here and there. It's like full on visions. So yeah, that seems more of a bigger deal. Yeah, I agree.
Like the story that I told, the health nut that just suddenly had this unquenchable desire for chicken nuggets. That sounds like cell memory. Like some part of the guy's body remembers digesting those and being happy about it. But the fact that this guy was hallucinating and seeing visions is just so powerful. But anyway, I don't pretend to know. Obviously everybody has their own biases, including me. I'd love for it to be more of a spiritual connection to the person that used to own that heart, but maybe it's just something as simple as cell memory. It could be.
I mean, it could be. Cashew, I'm not going to pronounce that last name because I feel like I'm going to butcher it, but Cashew in the chat says, I'm adopted and had an urge to play violin for a bit. Turns out my birth mother was a violinist.
Oh, neat. Yeah, well, there you go. So, I mean, is that a genetic memory or a genetic inclination then? Or is that something more spiritual? Like the energy of that family was just so much more geared towards the expression of themselves through music. Was that, something of a family trait? And is that more than just genetics? And I don't know. I mean, those things are very powerful, very, very powerful. But,
and I think it's also important to note too that the brain is like one of the least understood parts of the body and how it works. So, I mean, I don't even know what they know and don't know, but I think it's okay to imagine that some of these things might just be, hypothesis on scientists' ends, that they're still really trying to figure out how everything works still.
Yeah, absolutely. We have so much to learn about, so much. It's not just that we need to learn about the paranormal. We don't know a lot about much of anything. I mean, we know more and more. Don't get me wrong, and I'm really amazed at what people have discovered, and are discovering. It's fantastic and exciting, but we're nowhere near to the point of just being able to explain away the universe. We're nowhere near. So, That's very cool. Thank you. We got another call. Let's get to this one. And this is coming from area code 845. You're on the air.
Hello, Brent. Hello.
Hey, Carlton. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Sheldon. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So I'm with you, Brent. There's a guy named Rupert Sheldrake, and he has a couple of different talks. He's been studying this concept, and he calls it morphic fields. Apparently it's not just parts. Apparently all different sorts of body parts, when transplanted, carry some sort of a memory of the person that they were with before.
Oh, morphic fields. That sounds really interesting. Who's the guy you're watching or that talks about this?
He's a scientist. I think he's English. His name is Rupert Sheldrake. Rupert Sheldrake. Sheldrake.
Okay. Can you explain a little more about that?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. It's kind of confusing. Basically, he's done all sorts of experiments with animals and humans, and he's been studying, the nature of where we come from and how, this kind of thing with the heart transplant, where the person's personality comes with them and that sort of thing. And he's developed a theory called morphic fields, where basically the concept is kind of like that our personality or soul or person or whatever, that essence that we, know to be the person is actually projected from somewhere else, possibly the creator, who knows.
Right.
But it's a really interesting concept. And, if you get a chance, check out some Rupert Sheldrake morphic fields talks. They're really phenomenally interesting.
Yeah, I just wrote that down. Took some notes because I do want to look into that. But that seems to kind of resonate more with me too. I mean, what you're saying, rather than to just say cellular memory, because I guess it would be more of a resonance, right? Or like every part of our body is tuned to us as the source of the body. And so, I guess that could mean so many things, as far as disposition, interests. Every part is an imprint of us onto our physical forms, and I find that really interesting. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm going to look into that, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. And yeah, I agree. I mean, everything is really frequency. Basically, everything that exists is really just vibrating at a frequency.
Right.
Yeah. And
that's
so it gets really crazy.
That it does, and it becomes like energy is information, and frequency is information of energy. I think because frequency as a term all by itself just sounds like, well, it's a vibration, but maybe frequency is information on a quantum level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And well, another thing, like from my radio perspective, when we tune an antenna to fit a particular frequency, we set the length of that antenna, and we have to tune it to be at the same frequency as the frequency we're trying to transmit. And that ratio between getting that right and wrong is called the standing wave ratio. And what you're trying to do is actually stand a wave on the antenna so that it will propagate off of the antenna. Oh. And so that whole tuning concept kind of like makes sense when you really think about it, even on a physics level.
And that's really almost an esoteric example, then, isn't it? So if we want the world to be a better place, we have to tune our own antenna to resonate that positivity rather than the dark ugliness, right?
Boy, do we ever! Yeah, we sure do.
This
Hey, one other interesting note about human hearts. Did you know that the human heart radiates a 12-foot diameter magnetic field around it?
I didn't know the distance, but I knew that our heartbeat permeates through our physical frame into our area around us. 12 feet, you say?
12 feet is measured so far, yeah. So,
wow.
Interesting thing to think of. When you're within 6 feet of somebody, you're actually pairing your heart frequencies and beats and all that sort of stuff are within each other's magnetic range.
Wow. I did not know any of this. Whoa.
So hang around healthy people is what you're saying, right?
That's what I'm saying. Hang around healthy people.
Don't hang around the guys with heart problems. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just being stupid. But yeah, brother, thank you. Always bringing something interesting to the table. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're welcome, and hello to everyone out there. I'm listening tonight, but I'm not chatting in the chat because I'm sitting by a fire on the phone. So thank you for the show. Carry on.
All right. Take care, brother. See ya.
Thank you.
That's cool. I
did not know any of that. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting that all of the science can be esoteric as well. And maybe that's the beauty of it, is that everything in our experience can be translated to a spiritual
Hello?
message.
What?
You can't hear me?
No, now I can.
Oh, did you lose me or did I lose you? Did you guys hear a dropout at all?
To me, it sounded like it to me at least. But
Well, you weren't tuned in.
yeah, I was out of the frequency.
Thank you.
Yep, that was...
Get back with the frequency, Sheldon, will you?
Oh, all right. That was a good one. I won't even. I can't be mad at that.
Nope. All right. So, thank you for the calls. I appreciate that a bunch, and that's really, really interesting. It's kind of funny how this is like the dynamic of the shows, right? Like I try to plan out a course for our shows, and I pull up information and articles and stuff. But the coolest shows are when the shows direct us. You know, where it's like something will get hit on, somebody will call in, and then other people will call in, and it becomes something completely different. And I love that. I have no problem with that whatsoever, because when we're communicating as a group, the discussions are so much better. I mean, I don't mind talking to you guys. I love doing this either way, and I will plan out shows, but if they go a different direction, that's absolutely fascinating and fun as well, because maybe that's just what's supposed to happen, right? So
yeah,
just food for thought anyway. But
1 minute we're talking about UFOs, the other minute we're talking about cow butts. You know, it happens.
No, that's true.
If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know, and that's fine.
No, I always marvel at why the cow anuses. Why? That's just shouldn't. There's no reason they can learn. These are advanced life forms. What can they learn from a cow anus? Come on, quit coring them. They're not snacks. All right, or if they are, they need to change their diet. Here we go. Let's get into some more paranormal fun. We're talking about abductions and cattle mutilations, of course, is the reference there. In case you're new to the show and you're probably decided you don't want to be more familiar than that. But we have an article that we went through a little bit last night. We're going to get back to tonight. And this article is from Thought Catalog. And it's real ghost stories that will make you believe in the paranormal from Thought Catalog. And let's get into that now.
Right.
Now, it's already underway. Again, we started reading it. Donna and I started going through it a little bit last night. I think I'm going to trim. No, I guess you're fine. Okay. So, again, from Thought Catalog, I did mention the author. Let me see if I can figure out who wrote it again. This is by Emily Madriga, and it was last updated January 3rd, 2022, again from Thought Catalog. See if I can figure out where the hell I was now. I like when they number them. That's usually so much better. Okay, so the first one up is laughter. I encountered the ghost of a little girl once too. Now, full disclosure, I'm always apprehensive about the whole little kid ghost. I talked about it last night. If you weren't here, essentially, I have a hard time believing that there's these stranded children spirits all over the place. I think a lot of times they aren't at all little children, and they're just trying to appear like little children to get you to open up to them and let them in, which then leads to problems, scratches, screaming, and exorcisms. But that's just my 2 cents. So if you see a little ghost girl or boy, be very, 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 very careful, because chances are it's not what you think it is. But it's not that it can't happen. I just don't think that there's that many wandering kids here. If there is, there's a real breakdown in the divine there. Let's go. She was in my parents' old house, which is where I grew up as a teenager. I heard a clear voice wake me up from sleep a few times saying, "Hello?" I was never afraid, and I never thought much of it until it happened a few times. Then one night, she laughed 2 distinct syllables. Heh, heh. I feel bad for her, honestly. Both my ghost and yours. Imagine being a kid trapped on the other side of a place you know, unable to do hardly anything to it. You're alone. Nobody can meaningfully interact with you. And worst of all are the other things that occasionally wander this side of reality with you. It's got to be terrifying. And that was by Eternity Incarnate. And those are some great points because, I mean, could you imagine these little children, innocent, beautiful little children being stuck in this limbo with God knows what else. I mean, I think there's no question there's some really dark, horrible things that wander around as well. So the fact that these little children are not brought home and are just left to wander, to me, is a absolute affront to everything good. So if there really is little kid spirits wandering by themselves, that's a horrible, horrid thing. So anyway, I can't speak of any authority to it, but it's interesting nonetheless. So next one up is Ghost Kitty. When I was younger, I used to see a black cat that would follow me around. It wasn't an everyday occurrence, but sometimes I would see them once I got a real good look at it. Black cat with bright green eyes. And anyway, I never really talked about the cat following me around and don't remember mentioning it to anybody. But as I got older, I noticed it less until one day my brother asked me out of the blue what happened to the black cat that used to follow me. Well, that freaked me out a little. I tried to convince myself I was imagining things, but how did he know about the cat and that they were missing? And this by not yet a serial killer. Well, that's...
Oh my God, what a name.
That's a horrible name. You don't pick that kind of name for yourself. What the hell? But that's interesting because obviously he wasn't the only one perceiving this. Well, I don't know. It said it was when he was younger. So I know that, of course, younger kids can see a lot more spiritual things than us adults can. But that's really weird. Maybe it was. Maybe
it was just an actual black cat just following him around.
Well, I'm sure it probably wasn't, but. I don't know. I mean, if it was just a cat, it's like...
Yeah, it's no mystery. But
just a stray.
I know.
Yeah. Could be, but I kind of think they think it was a ghost cat. Next one up is Sebastian. I used to work in a bar that wasn't exactly a jail, but temporarily held people awaiting court and sentencing. It's a bar that wasn't exactly a jail, but temporarily held people... Did I serve drinks there or what? You're going to be waiting a while for court, so how about a whiskey
drink
and Coke while you wait? Temporarily held people awaiting jail and sentencing, or court and sentencing. Everyone had stories about the residential ghost who we called Sebastian. First time I ever saw Sebastian, I looked down the stairs while I was opening and saw some legs in black pants and smart shoes. The ceiling obscured his torso upwards, and when I went downstairs to ask how he got in, he ran down the hallway and vanished. A few other staff members mentioned seeing a man in a black suit who would be in the bar after hours while you'd be cleaning. But when you'd approach to speak to him, he'd turn a corner and disappear. Sometimes after closing, you'd hear someone ringing the bells on staff members' bikes downstairs, or you'd hear a crash and the bikes would be moved to a different place. Other times you'd see a man in black duck into the office, and by the time you'd enter, he'd be gone. The clincher that convinced us all that it wasn't just a thing we all believed because we all joked about it so often was the day the new chefs came in. They didn't speak much English and would leave once dinner service was over, so they never engaged in the Sebastian stories. One day, one of them asked about a man in black kept leaning on the ordering window while they were cleaning. And Sebastian was pretty chill, though. He never scared us or did anything mean. I think he just liked hanging out. Well, that's kind of good.
As long as it's not trying to terrify or, any bad, that it's just could just be innocent, yeah.
Exactly. So, that's just the thing. I don't have any problem with the fact that we might be sharing our world with these spiritual beings. I think that makes sense. They are here for whatever reason, and we don't know. we have ideas like, oh, they must be working through stuff, or maybe they're, stuck and didn't want to cross over, or, any number of reasons. My personal belief is that, of course, some religious ideologies speak of, that you have to face a judgment. And if you're found wanting, you might be looking at an eternity, treading water in a fiery pool. And I can understand some reluctance, because I think, we all question, God, am I a good person? I try to be a good person. But then if you're in that position, it's like, well, do I cross over and just roll the dice on this one? Or do I just deal with the basement here? So I think it makes sense that some of them stick around. But anyway, we're going to go to the hour break. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. Just make sure that you're well fed.
Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Boom! They can go on for years and years and years and years. Yes, they can. Sheldon,
Yes.
you want to see who's here?
I would love to see who's here.
All right, let's do some shout outs then. Let's find out just
All right.
who's here. Are you going to do them or am I?
I can do them.
Go ahead.
First, we have Aggravated Progressive, Cashew Gesundheit. Gesundheit. There we go. Yeah. Cow Creek Cryptids, Dr. Manhattan, Ghost Magnet 81, Magni M10, You're Here, Rachel Gets It Right, Jeffrey Dixon, Ron the Sage, Rugeridge, Scotty, I'm Here, Stone Hobbit. Wait, who came in? Someone came in. Jake's here, Jake Fortes.
Yep.
Stone Hobbit, Tracy Gale, and I don't know who I missed. Who did I miss?
I don't know. Did you say Jeffrey
Deb
Dixon?
Varner?
Deb Varner came in. Yep. Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty's here. Maggie's here. Everybody's here. The party's
Everyone's
all here.
here.
And then over in TFR, we have Bam's over there. Drone Free Zones in there. Gemini's over there, too. Grateful Soul and Happy Individual. Thank you guys for being here and being a part of the journey, as always. Just appreciate all the love and support you guys bring to the table every show. Thank you so much. I was gonna tell you something. I went to the kitchen just as we had the break, and I was like, grab a drink, and I'm standing there, and I'm sitting by the faucet in the kitchen sink, and I just happened to be looking towards the end of the kitchen, and Elijah's backpack just kind of shot off the chair.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just happened just a minute ago. I was like, oh, how you doing?
Someone saying hi.
I guess so. We're talking about spirits all the time on the show, and it doesn't surprise me. I've even heard from listeners that listening to the show can sometimes give them activity, which I think is pretty interesting. But I think that might just be because if you consider the position of a spirit that's there, and maybe it just can't get acknowledgement, and I gotta imagine how tough that would be. That you try to just get someone to recognize that you're there. And we were just talking about this before break, and I've never been bothered sharing a space with, what I believe to be spiritual entities, and I could be wrong. I mean, it could just be a whole lot of coincidences, a lot of coincidences, but I tend to think that it's some intelligence there. But I think that when you talk or are observing things of a paranormal nature, I think that they go, hey, wait, this is my time, this is my chance, because they're looking for this stuff, and so they might do stuff at that point. I've had listeners call, or email me telling me that once they listen to my show, like a picture keeps falling off their wall, and it turns out to be a relative that they love and missed and had passed on. Same picture over and over, and it's really interesting. Never shatters, just keeps falling off the wall. So I think, well, maybe they're letting you know they're there, just hanging out with you. So at any rate,
I've wondered that if that's how maybe if this is correct, how dark entities come into being. They're stuck here for whatever reason because they don't want to cross. Kind of like you said, maybe it could be their own fear of crossing over, the fear of the other side. But they're stuck here. And after not being acknowledged and basically feeling completely alone, it, I don't know, drives them mad, drives them insane, or they get angry and then they turn dark, however it works. But that's a thought I've had about it.
Yeah, I've wondered that too. It's like, if a person was living in isolation, they would eventually probably go nuts. I mean, you just lose the normal references, the normal things that keep you grounded. And I imagine it would probably drive you insane. And so you'd have this lunacy and God only knows. I mean, if that could be the source for some of the dark hauntings that happen, is just they're broken. They're just psychologically broken. And so they just do weird things and scary things because they're kind of in a scary state. But I don't know. I mean, it's just speculation, of course. We just can't know. But I think it's possible. I really do. All right. So we are going through an article on Thought Catalog, and we're going to get back to that. And the next story up on this article is Grandpa's Ghosty. Oh, I wanted to mention, well, I'll save it for another show. I just happened to catch, I didn't catch it on film again, but I caught another light anomaly going through the sky last night that was very similar, almost identical to the white light that I did record that's on the first break in the night vision segment. I saw it again.
Oh, you caught another one.
I saw it. I didn't have my binoculars with me and it wasn't recording, but it passed right over and there's no flashing lights, but I could see it with my naked eye. I didn't need the night vision. I don't know if I needed the night vision on the one I recorded. I just happened to be looking through it when it came by, but it's no navigation lights flashing on it at all. It's just a solid white light. And I saw it last night with my naked eye just passing over the same path even, which I thought was really interesting, but very, very, pretty big. Like it wasn't like a satellite in orbit. It was much too big for that. It was in lower altitude, but whatever it is, it's just emitting light all the way around it. It's very crazy.
Below or above the clouds, would you say?
There was no clouds last night, so I couldn't say. I mean, okay. When people say clouds, there's all kinds of clouds. There's low-hanging clouds. There's very high atmospheric clouds. So clouds can be a tough reference, really. Because you don't know which level they are. But there was no clouds last night, so I didn't have any point of reference for that. So anyway, let's get to Grandpa Ghosty on the next ghost story. Then we're going to slide into some Dogman stories and other Canid stories from phantomsandmonsters.com. And then to wrap it all up tonight, we're probably going to hit a couple stories from Sasquatch Chronicles and see what's going on there. So we're going to get into some more cryptid stuff in just a few minutes. So hang in there. Hang on to your seats. It's going to get good. It's already good, hopefully, but hopefully it's going to remain good. Maybe that's what that's what I wanted to say. It's going to remain good or get even better if that's possible. So let's get to the next one. Grandpa Ghosty, when I was 15, let's get it on the right frame. There we go. My dad was driving to a friend's house to practice some roller hockey. My buddy lived in a 2-story log cabin with a long winding driveway. It was the first time I'd ever been to his house and had been told his parents wouldn't be home until later that evening. So as we drove up, my dad says he thought my friend's parents weren't home, and I told him they weren't. And then he points to a 2nd-story window and says, "Well, someone's there." I look up and see an older male dressed in Western clothing and wearing a big cowboy hat. This is Texas, so it isn't unusual. And I say, I guess they got home early, and shrugged it off. A while later, I mentioned something about asking his parents something, and he says, well, they won't be home till later. I point out both my dad and I saw someone in his house, and he freaks out because no one was supposed to be there. We then go in the house and check it out and don't find anyone. After his parents got home, we were in the back room of the house, and I see a picture of the guy who had been upstairs, and I pointed out to my buddy. He turns white and says that was his granddad, who died 6 years earlier. Turns out my buddy's parents believed the house to be haunted by multiple spirits. That was by Trist91. Yeah, I think it's awesome then that one of those spirits is probably a caring relative looking over the family. Because when you think it's multiple spirits, it's like, yeah, but what are they? So it's kind of nice that one of them might be a loving relative keeping an eye on the family.
Or what do you call it? An imprint, when it's it's replaying an event.
Oh, just well, a residual is
residual. Yeah.
But we don't know if the grandfather died in that house, though. I mean, there's no saying. It didn't sound like that was a family house, just that family's house, but not. They didn't say, well, it was Grandpa's house. He died here 6 years earlier. It just said he died 6 years earlier. So we don't know it was the same house, but anybody's guess. Oftentimes with these shorter stories, we have very little to go on, but
yeah, that's true.
Use what we got. Man-hating ghost is next. No, I hate those ones. Was visiting a friend in Chicago, and she told me under no uncertain terms, the ghost of a woman who lived there wasn't really fond of men staying there. I was told that I needed to make sure I closed any door behind me, lest she slammed the door behind me. Sure as shooting, first night I'm there, I got up to go pee in the middle of the night. I didn't close the bedroom door when I came back from the bathroom. The door slammed so hard it knocked a piece of art off the damn wall. That was by Sir Twitch. Sir_Twitch. Well, yeah, shut your doors, dude. Don't need to egg them on any. Let's go through one more and then we'll start with some of the Dogman reports. Knocking is the next one. We started hearing knocks on the siding, second floor, as if someone was at the door. This followed loud banging in the basement every night. Oh God, that would get old. That's the kind of stuff that would just irritate the hell out of me. It's like, all right, knock it off. I decided to record through the night, and this snowflake ornament started spinning long after all had gone to bed. There was no draft as the other ornaments didn't move, and when I played it back, I heard a man's voice repeatedly calling me a hoe. I still live there. Well, someone's got a bit of an opinion. Wow.
That's an angry troll spirit.
What a derogatory bastard. Yeah. Time to exercise that spirit and get out some incense and rock that out. That's horrible. He's calling you a horrible name. Oh my God. Yeah, I guess there's a belief, and I guess it makes sense, that the only thing that changes between us and those that have passed is that they don't have a body. They're still the same, I don't know, messy, dysfunctional, broken people that they were in their lives. I think the difference is transition. You know, it's a difference between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost, in my definition and many others, a ghost is a spirit that's never transitioned. They just stay here. And those are the ones I think are just kind of stuck in whatever state they ended their life in. Or finished their life, I should say, not ended. But the ones that transition and go pass on and then come back, I really believe that those it's like a great reset or something where it just leaves the good parts of them. They're not these horrible, broken, dysfunctional people that they may have been. Like they go to the next world and they spend some time maybe and then come back and check on their family, stop in, whatever. And they don't seem to be as dysfunctional after they transition. So I encourage all the spirits to go transition first.
You know, maybe we're being too judgmental. You know, like Rachel said, wait a second, maybe the ghost was a gardener.
It was just a really skinny girl. I don't know what the hell that even means, but maybe it was a penchant for gardening. But whatever the case is, not the kind of friendly ghost that you want to hang out with. So let's start out with some phantoms and monsters, ladies and gentlemen. This is, of course, Lon Strickler's site. It's a fantastic site. They have so many different claims and stories of people having encounters with cryptids, with UFOs, excuse me, my God, and with any kind of supernatural 4D and paranormal stuff. And they also have research efforts going on there. And Lon Strickler himself is a published author with a few titles under his belt. And you can find out all that information and more. And you can find out about his podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio, by heading over to phantomsandmonsters.com. So definitely check it out. Support what he's doing over there. And give him the traffic. And believe me, we read stories from Lon's site once in a while, but there's so much more going on there than I could ever cover with my show without just doing another Phantoms and Monsters show. But you could really just dedicate a show to covering all the information on Phantoms and Monsters. But this one's not really a Dogman per se, but it's a very interesting tale of a mind-speaking wolf incident on Cold Lake, Alberta farm. And imagine this is Canada because they mentioned Alberta. So I don't know if this is more of a spirit animal or if it's an actual manifested animal. I don't know, but it's very, very curious. So let's read it and find out. It says the following account provided by Steve at the factsbyhowtohunt.com details an Alberta, Canada boy mind speaking with a massive wolf. It seemed that the farm had a lot of unexplained phenomena. So again, this is How to Hunt. So it's not really phantoms and monsters, but Steve Isdall is the guy that they're referencing here, and he does a lot of Bigfoot stuff, but he also covers some of the other cryptids from time to time. He has listener submissions, people write in emails about their experiences, and it's pretty huge following. So check it out. That's How to Hunt. The facts by howtohunt.com. Shane, no last name provided, recalled an incident in the early 1960s when he was still a boy. His family lived on a small isolated farm in Cold Lake, Alberta between the early 1960s and the early 1970s. He lived in the house with his mother, father, 2 sisters, and 3 brothers. All of the boys slept in the loft, while the sisters slept in a large closet that had been divided into 2 separate rooms. Wow. They had an outhouse, but in the winters, because of the bitter winters at Cold Lake, they kept a 5-gallon pail on an enclosed back porch for them to use. The older male family members would just urinate out the windows during those times. Man, that must have been colorful outside of their house. One night, I needed to use the bucket. Everyone else was asleep. As I was sitting on this bucket, a very large wolf head came through the window. Oh, so it's definitely spiritual. The head filled the window. It looked at me straight in the eyes and smiled at me. Now, all this I remember as if it was just yesterday, and I'm becoming emotional as I type this. Of course, I was in terror. Then we had a conversation in our heads, and he said to me, "Why are you alone, little man?" I said, I need to poop and it's cold. Well, it's nice. Getting right to the point. Then it said, "You know I can jump right in there and eat you, and you would not scream because you're terrified." And I replied, "I can't do nothing." I said that in my mind, and he then smiled at me and left. I quickly ran past the window, through the door, back up to the very steep stairs, and into the bed. Of course, when I tried to tell everyone, which was very hard for me due to a very bad stutter, they told me it was just a dream. But I always knew it wasn't a dream. Years later, I spoke to my sister about it while we were talking about other strange things that happened on that farm, and she said she'd seen the same, but by then, her parents moved the bucket into the kitchen. I don't know why they did. My mom says it was impossible for a wolf to look through those windows because they were too high off the ground. Apparently, the windows were about 7 feet off the ground, which meant that the creature had to have been that height or taller, standing upright. So it very well might have been a Dogman, I guess, because I don't know if it could have been some form of gigantic spirit wolf, or if it was a Dogman. And there's also a mind speak part of that phenomena. You don't hear about that, though. You don't hear about mind speak claims when it comes to Dogman. You of course you hear about terror, and you hear about fear, and you hear about how ferocious and angry they seem, but you don't get a lot of the dialogue claims like you do with Bigfoot. Very interesting.
It makes me wonder if there are like guardian spirits in the world, like and this is just an example of it, if true.
Yeah, I mean it could very well be. There's a lot of cultures that had almost these deities, and they were sometimes referred to as like demigods or other gods or beings like sylphs and dryads and things like that, and fauns and such that were kind of in charge of regions of the wilds and stuff, and they were they were revered and sung about and such, and became very much parts of these cultures. But I know, of course, the First Nations has a lot of personifications of some of these animal spirits. And so is it a spirit or is it physical? We don't know. They never talked about finding huge footprints outside of the window or anything like that. So we don't know if there was a physical trace of that visit, but it is interesting that they ended up moving the bucket from the enclosed porch into the kitchen. Maybe somebody else saw something too and they didn't want to talk about it, like the mom or dad. It's like, nope.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, they moved the bucket, so something caused them to move the bucket. That's all I'm saying. All right. So interesting story. I think these stories are beautiful. I don't discount that this indeed could have happened. It's just, again, we're dealing with our westernized ideas of things, but there's, again, many cultures talked of the spirit of the world, the spirits of the world, and they weren't just ghosts or dark entities. Sometimes they were utilitarian or guardian type of entities, like you were suggesting, Sheldon. And so maybe you're right. Maybe that was what this kid ran into. Very cool, though. All right, we got 5 minutes before. Is this not the end of the show, is it? No, it's for the half-hour break. I don't know. Sometimes, I swear to God, I lose track of everything. But this one's an interesting one, also from Phantoms and Monsters. This is one of those other claims that come in very, very rarely, but they're out there. People claim to see really, really, really weird things. And not that Dogman and Sasquatch isn't weird enough, but then you get things like ominous snake woman encountered by jogger on mountain trail. What do you do with that? I don't know. Let's check it out and see what it actually says. A jogger on a favorite trail when he encounters a snake. He avoids the serpent and continues on, and soon later, a woman calls out to him, and what he sees shocks him. He says, I recently received the following account. Call it BS if you want, but this really happened. None of this is false or made up. In mid-2020, I was jogging on one of my favorite trails, no location given, an 8-mile-long hiking and mountain biking trail. I was around 3/4 of the way finished when I kept getting this weird feeling to look behind me. But after I checked, there was nothing. I was coming around a long corner with thick brush and a stream on the edge of the trail when I decided to look back one more time. Once again, nothing. Until I faced forward again and almost stepped on a 2-foot-long snake sprawled across the trail. At the last moment, I dodged to the side, narrowly missing its head, and kept running. I don't harm stuff. I just don't. About 2 minutes later, I'm maybe 5 minutes away from the edge of the trail when I hear a woman shout, "Behind you." My soul nearly left my body because I checked so many times and there was no one back there. Then suddenly a woman appears. I let her pass and I noticed that she was attractive, and I couldn't help but watch her run ahead, but also had a weight vest on her as I did. But then I noticed something that gave me serious chills. Her shorts were not shorts. At first glance, they appeared to be snake print jogging shorts, but as I stared, I looked more and more at like snake skin from her waist down to the bottom of her butt. I mean, it was her skin, no shorts. She hit the end of the trail before I did, and she went to an old white car and sat on the trunk staring at me as I walked to my truck. If I wasn't so freaked out, I would have said hi to her, or whatever that was. But it was just too much all at once, so I left in a hurry. Did this woman manifest from the snake? I truly believe she did. I've only been back one time since then, and it's difficult to focus on running because I feel like something is out there. It's very ominous. So that's a hard claim to get around. I don't know. I don't know how he determined that it was her skin, and not just,
yeah.
I mean, maybe he didn't see the seams like it was shorts, but what is the more likely explanation is, I guess, where I get stuck.
It's like you were saying about these stories. There's just not enough information that's presented.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to understand what does that look like. So I'm trying to, as I'm reading it, I'm trying to conceptualize, what is he seeing? What does that look like? And basically, it sounds like essentially a naked woman running by. She had a weight vest on, though, he said. So it's not like she was, just some, I don't know, nature spirit or nature manifestation. It's like she was working out. But how did it look that she had snake skin instead of skin from her waist to the bottom of her butt?
It's like such a specific area. I don't know. It's
right.
Yeah.
It's a strange kind of story. I don't know. I mean, she didn't get in the car. She just sat on a car. So the assumption is, well, it's her car, but maybe it was just where she stopped to wait for the guy. You know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to do with stories like that. And that's where I get kind of uncertain, and I keep an open mind. Honestly, I do, folks. I don't try to be judgmental about any of this. Jeffrey Dixon says tattoo. Maybe that's a good call. I mean, maybe it was just something as innocent as tattoos, but very unusual. All right, there's the bell. It happened again. The break just came right up on us, but we'll be right back. We got a half hour to go here on the Paranormal Portal, so don't go away. There's still more of this cryptid stuff to come. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We are in the final stretch of the show already, if you can believe that. I've been doing this show since 2016 now, and it still really surprises me. I know I talk about that oftentimes, but I just can't get used to how quickly this goes by. It's just so incredible.
It's mysterious.
It is. Well, maybe it's just the function of some great conversation, Sheldon. That might be it. But whatever the case, I am absolutely thrilled you guys are here. And a special thank you to all of you out there that are also checking out the podcasts. Essentially, at the beginning of June, I posted the last episode of season 3, and I intended to take a bit of a break before season 4 of the podcast. And I did take a break, and then I ended up having to deal with some other issues pertaining to the podcast that took longer. And it was over a month, and I was like, oh, you never know how that's going to affect, something that you do when you take a hiatus like that. But I released the first episode of season 4 last Thursday night, and I was really thrilled to see a lot of people coming and checking it out. So I was really nervous because I didn't know. I was like, God, is this going to hurt the performance of the show, having been away for so long? But so many people were right there to pick up the ball again. So if you're one of those people, thank you so much, because the podcast is a big part of what I do. The YouTube show is a big part as well, but the podcast is by far a much bigger show as far as the amount of people that are checking it out. And so I was really thrilled to see that. So I just wanted to say a special thank you if you're one of the people that also check out the podcast. If you're not familiar with the podcast, please check it out on any of the major platforms, whether it's iHeartRadio, iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, CastBox, any number of the different platforms. Wherever you find podcasts, wherever you listen to Sasquatch Chronicles, look for the Paranormal Portal. You'll find us on those same platforms. So thank you for that. I just wanted to express my gratitude, because it was just like, oh, thank God. So, all right.
I mean, yeah, we couldn't have a show without everybody watching and participating like you guys do, and
well,
it's important.
We could have a show, but it would just be really weird
Be
to
a
sit
dead
here
show. Yeah.
just talking to you, Sheldon. I mean,
Yeah.
we could just talk to each other on the phone and cut out the middleman, but I'm glad
There
we
we
get
go.
to share this with all of you guys as well. So thank you. I did see a comment come up in the chat over the break, and somebody's talking about body paints and how there's some really viscous body paints. And I want to see if I can see who it could have been. Oh, it's Shelby Livingston. That's a new name for me, Shelby. Thank you so much for coming in. If you're not new, I'm sorry. It's just a newer name. I don't get a lot of chance to watch the chats. So says there's a paint specifically for painting on your body, and it's really viscous, almost like wax, and good enough artist could do snakeskin for sure. Hate to say it, hoax, but hoax. And it could be. I don't know if this person knew. I don't mean to state, well, this person's obviously, trying to propagate a hoax. It seems that they may have believed what they saw, but I think it's also important on people that follow the paranormal to just look at what is the most likely explanation. And even though we have a confirmation bias, I do too. I'd love for everything to be paranormal, but it's not, And I don't.
Yeah.
I think you have to look at these things with the eye of a skeptic, and it doesn't mean that it couldn't be a true story. But in a case like this, where it's probably just a normal person, because it was on a path, the person was dressed in a vest, just like the person that reported the story, and then had just a scaly butt, and that was it, and ran right by. I don't know if you can call that a snake woman for sure, but I don't know if snake women wear weighted vests as well. I don't know. Maybe it's a fashion thing for snake people. I don't know. I'm probably going to end up with snake people visiting me, Sheldon, now that I'm...
We heard you talking about us.
Yeah, whatever. We wear pumps and high heels too. So I don't mean to offend any snake people that might be out there listening, but I think you do have to go with the most likely explanation, and the most likely explanation is it was just another jogger. But I wasn't there. I didn't see it, and so I can't say for sure. All right, let's go to the next one, and then we're gonna do one more from Phantoms and Monsters. I think, well, we'll see where we get to, because there's a few. Yeah, this one shouldn't take too long. But this is a few Dogman reports from Phantoms and Monsters, and this is from July 20th, shocking Dogman / upright canine eyewitness reports. And I've got to tell you, and I've said this many times throughout the course of the show, but of all the cryptids, I think the Dogman would be the one that really terrified me the most. Not that a 9-foot, 10-foot tall Bigfoot couldn't make me, fudge stripe my underwear, but because I'm sure it could. But something about the Dogman, it just seems so much more aggressive, so much more likely to rip your face off. Because most of the Bigfoot reports, while they can be aggressive, they're mostly territorial. I would say they don't go out of their way to harm people, but the Dogman will get right up in your grill and just growl at you, and I can't imagine a more horrible feeling than that. So anyway, let's check this out. And this is very interesting Dogman / upright canine encounters that are described by eyewitnesses firsthand. These incidents occurred in Louisiana, Ontario, and Quebec. I've had an experience in Cannington, Ontario that I believe relates to this topic of Dogmen. One night I was driving home, heading towards town on the road they live on. I don't know who they are. Maybe they're Dogmen. As I came down a small hill into a slight valley, I saw two animals running on the gravel shoulder of the road. At first glance, I assumed them to be a pair of Great Pyrenees farm dogs that had gotten loose, purely based on the size. As I got closer to them from the rear, it became clear from their coloration and body shape that my original assumption was wrong. At the time, I was driving a '97 GMC Sierra. As I became parallel with the animals, both of their heads and the tops of their backs were clearly taller than the bottom of the passenger side window. They were both identical from my perspective. However, one of them turned its head to glance over at the truck before turning on a dime and making a break straight through the soy field on the right side of the road. The other followed before I could blink. It wasn't until after they had broke off from my direction of travel that I thought to check my speed. I was going 90 kilometers per hour, and both of them kept pace with ease. I gotta look this up. What is 90 kilometers per hour? Kilometers in miles per hour. And that would be 55.9249. So it's 55 miles an hour. And they were keeping up with ease. When I tell this story, I usually simplify it by saying that I saw two huge wolves on the road, but honestly, I've lived in a town with the population of wolves as well as a wolf sanctuary. Even seen one on my street one evening, and these animals that I saw that night on the road in Cannington would have towered over any of the wolves I've seen anywhere else in Ontario. That was by someone named TC. That's bizarre. Jeez. Just to think.
Isn't that faster than, isn't Bigfoot reported to be around 40 some?
I've heard some estimations about 40, 45. I've heard it claimed that that Bigfoot can run much faster than that, like in the 50s. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like 40s seems to be the most consistent of the reports that I've heard.
With ease part,
Yeah, with ease means they were just kind of loping along, not really working it. But how much faster could they go? I mean, this is like cheetah speed at this point. So that's terrifying. All right, here's the next one. We had been driving down a lonely, empty side road without streetlights in eastern Quebec in 2005. It was 8 p.m. or so, and we drove in the pouring rain. The entire time, there was only one other car roughly 50 feet in front of us during the whole ride, it seemed. I'd been sitting in the middle back seat when the car in front suddenly hit its brakes, causing his bright red brake lights to shine, grabbing all of our attention. I had expected to see a downed tree or a dead deer in the road, but no. The car in front swerved to the right, causing us to swerve left. In the headlights stood a huge werewolf / dogman, cynocephaly, or whatever name you choose to call such a thing. I had a great view from the front and then a close-up as it went past on the right side of the car. I will never forget the size of it, just so massive in size and oddly looked totally jacked. It had to somewhat bend over to look into the car, it being such huge size. It couldn't have been anything else. It was the most insane thing I've ever witnessed too, and I will never forget what it looked like. It had a very dark fur, pointy ears like a German Shepherd. I didn't see its tail. Its chest was ridiculously large, and that's all they give us. Source was YouTube comments, Sunny Prophet. Wow, that's pretty crazy. And the last one on the list is, I've seen a Dogman. It was in Louisiana, just outside of a very small village named Duberly. I was 17 years old and part of a hunting party. I was about 30 meters away from a fence line that housed a herd of teamed and farm-bred deer. I was sitting next to a salt tree stump, waiting for my grandfather to come back with discards from the previous deer we had hunted. Not all of the farm deer, but wild deer he had previously shot. I was on a high line known as the boneyard, and it's where we always discarded animal entrails that are of little use to us. I saw a creature's leg, then shoulder, that had the snout of a dog. It was about 7 feet tall. It made no noise, and it noticed me. Its eyes met mine. It then darted away. This thing looked straight into my eyes. It looked like it knew I wasn't supposed to see it, but did. It backed up and disappeared into the foliage. Weirdest thing ever. Never knew about these things or thought they existed. I always remember the sun shimmering on its smooth pelt. Could see its muscles through the thinner spots. That was by KM.
Jeez.
Yeah, I just don't know what that would feel like, but I don't think I'd want to be hunting anymore. That's like, okay, I'm going vegan. I'm going vegan.
I think you're right, though. Like, having a Dogman see you and stare at you like that versus a Bigfoot, I would feel safer with the Bigfoot noticing me than a Dogman. It's 7 feet tall, muscular,
claws,
claws, and with those teeth and like looking like a dog and ferocious like that. Like, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different kind of fear. I just can't imagine it. And I don't think any of them would be easy to confront and see. Don't get me wrong. I think that would be absolutely horrid. But man, what an experience! Oh, that's insane. Wow. So those are 3 reports from Phantoms and Monsters. Again, special thanks to Lon Strickler for letting us peruse his site and use some of these stories for the portal. I appreciate it. Now we're gonna go to. We got about 12 minutes left. I don't know.
What?
Yeah,
God.
That's how quick it happens. I think I'll have time to read this story. We're drifting over to Sasquatch Chronicles, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Wes Germer's site. Again, everybody knows about Sasquatch Chronicles, the podcast. Also know that SasquatchChronicles.com is an amazing site. A whole bunch of information over there, postings and such that Wes could never cover on his show. He just wouldn't have enough time to do all the episodes, but there's some incredible reports and stories over there. So if you want more of the Bigfoot stuff, go check out SasquatchChronicles.com. There's a ton more, as well as the confessionals too. Tony does a great job. Between them, they do a hell of a journey. But anyway, let's go to this one. And this is from July 23rd, Terror at Mountain Fork River. And this is brand new. So I saw this pop up and like, ooh, that's cool. So spoke to the eyewitness and he wanted to remain anonymous. He said this happened to him back in 1974. And here's the account of what happened. Now, just as a side note, 1974, this guy's been carrying this since 1974. And this is what I'm talking about when you're thinking about reports. Only a small percentage of people that see things will actually report them to some online source or show or something. So just think of the number of actual claims and experiences that are out there that nobody will ever hear. And it kind of
so much more. Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more of this going on than we believe, but this is just the stuff somebody thought enough about going, hey, I got to let people know, but a lot of people don't. They just swallow this and just, nope, I'm not even going there. A listener writes, my encounter happened in 1974 and I was 21 years old. In 47 years, I've never told anyone about this encounter, and I still deal with some PTSD. I needed a little downtime away from my oil field job, so I planned a vacation to Beavers Bend State Park in southeast Oklahoma during the first week of March in 1974. My pregnant wife of 6 months and I had planned to tent camp on the Mountain Fork River below the dam on Broken Bow Lake for 4 days. So I rented the further south tent site, which was about 30 yards from a cement dam on the river. This made the upper portion deeper for swimming and better kayaking and fishing. We had just had beautiful weather with lows in the low to mid 50s and highs in 65 to 70 degrees. The first 2 days were just terrific. We had fresh fish for breakfast, dinner, both days. Excuse me. On the morning of the third day, I got up at 5:30 a.m., made a pot of coffee. I had 2 cups and then grabbed my tackle box, rod and reel, and a 5-gallon bucket to put my catch in, as I'd done the 2 days prior. I walked down to the cement dam where I'd fished the previous 2 days. This morning, I had about an 8-mile-per-hour breeze blowing in my face from the southeast. Man, this is a guy that knows details.
I was going to say, how do you know that?
Yeah, this is a man that pays attention. The sun was just starting to rise when I made my first cast using an inline single spinner, 1-ounce lure called a shyster lure. White with black dots and a white horsehair skirt over a barbless treble hook. After fishing for about 25 minutes, I'd caught a 3-pound smallmouth bass and 2 rainbow trout of about 2 pounds each. I planned on catching 1 more fish and then calling it quits. I went to make another cast and my lure hung up behind me on what I thought was a tree limb, so I turned looking up to see where my lure had caught in the limb, but all I could see was a wall of cinnamon brown hair. Oh my God.
Oh no.
About 4 feet from me. My lure had hung up on the upper left chest of something that I didn't know existed. It was at least 11 feet tall, 5 feet wide across the shoulders, and at least 1,100 pounds. Its biceps were as big as my waist, and I had a 32-inch waist. My eyes moved up to its face, and it had a conical-shaped head. The eyes were as big as a Coke can and red. It was looking down at me, and snarling. Its teeth were as big as a horse's teeth and had only slightly pronounced eye teeth. His head looked to at least be 2.5 times the size of my head. I could not move. I could feel and hear a very low growl that seemed to rattle my bones with a pressure all over my body that I can't explain. At this moment, I truly believed that my life was over. God, do I know that feeling. Ugh, just giving me chills reading it. Wes, I couldn't speak or scream, but I remember thinking, oh my God, I am so sorry for hurting you. Then, like turning off a light switch, everything went black and I passed out. I believe that was about at 6:30 a.m. When I woke up, it was 7. I felt drained of energy and had a terrible headache. I sat up shaking uncontrollably, looking around, and saw that my tackle box had been smashed flat. My rod was broken into 4 pieces, and the 3 fish that I'd caught were taken out of my bucket. After regaining my composure, I found 2 footprints where that huge bastard had been standing. I had a measuring tape, so I measured both prints, 22.5 inches long, and 10 inches across the ball of the foot, 7 inches across the heel. I had never seen a footprint so huge. I was still shaking uncontrollably, and I had to just get the hell away from there. So I picked up all my crushed and broken fishing equipment and carried all of it to a trash bin, and then walked back to camp, poured myself another cup of coffee, and waited for my wife to wake. God, he still stayed there, though. Jeez. I poured her a cup of coffee, and she asked, "How was the fishing this morning?" I explained to her that during the night, someone had come into camp and taken all of my fishing gear. Well, she was pissed, but that was a lot better than me trying to explain what had actually seen and what transpired down by the river. At this point, I was still feeling so very lucky to be alive and breathing, so I had one more cup of coffee, and then told my wife that I wasn't feeling quite up to par and that I was just ready to go home. I can't help but believe that this creature had been watching me catch fish and just wanted my catch. To this day, I still can't believe how that SOB snuck up behind me. Since the encounter, I've had night terrors at least 3 or 4 times a month for years. Now, only within the last couple of years have they decreased to 1 or 2 a month. I've had an interest in finding out more about what it was that took my love of the outdoors. Wow. That's so hard to wrap your head around. That poor guy.
I mean, that is a giant one too. That's not just like a 7-8 feet tall. Having arms as big as your waist. Like I can't fathom what that would look like to be staring at that.
Not quite as big as my waist, though.
Oh God! Yep, here we go.
No, I don't know. But he turned around to a wall of cinnamon hair. I mean, it was just right behind him, just right out there, and without a sound, obviously, because the guy had no clue it was there. I don't know what that would feel like, but I guess that's one of the good things about my vision being partially blind in my right eye is when I can hear when something is stopping the noise. Like, so if there was a figure standing right near me, I would hear that the sound is different. And I guess, it's from a lifetime of running into stuff. You just develop habits of, ways to hear things where you can't see them. And so, honest to God, true story. I can hear when I'm walking next to something, even if I can't see it. I can hear the sound that changes. So I don't know, though. I mean, I've heard that kind of claim many times, though, about how they can move through impossible strata, like leaves and sticks, without making a sound. And you got to wonder how, especially as big as they are. It's not like they're tiptoeing, because when you got 22.5 foot feet, even on your tiptoes, your surface area is probably as big as our normal foot, So you're even if you're walking tiptoe on like the tips of your feet, you're still going to be crunching like a person. I don't know.
Well, plus weighing like around 1,000 pounds, like he said, the dirt and rocks you'd have to disturb just to walk around.
Yeah, exactly. So how they do it, I don't know. I know there are silent walking techniques. Of course, there's many practices around the world, including the First Nations, know about stalking. Bow hunters stalk regularly, and they can traverse very quietly and carefully. But to make absolutely no sound, that's wild. Yeah. And then they buried the hook in its chest.
Oh, it's just that is like such a TV show moment, like right there. Like you wind it back and you're like, oh, it's stuck in something.
And he goes to cast, so he's yanking some tissue there. Oh, and the thing just looks at him just all pissed, like, grrr. Yeah.
But even then, I mean, assuming this is true, I mean, from what the detail that he put into the story, I think it's very credible. Yeah. But I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a real encounter.
Yeah, it does. It's one of those things. I know where I was going with this. And there's another example in that story of after seeing it, the blackness just passing out, like going unconscious all of a sudden. Well, it's that infra sight or whatever, right?
Infrasound. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to understand what that growling would sound like, but I know what it sounds like because I actually experienced it, and it's absolutely horrifying. It's this deep rumbling thunder, and I'm just seeing if it's popping up here, because I did find that T-Rex sound from the first Jurassic Park, and that's the first sound I ever heard in my life that was finally close to what I heard as a 14-year-old. And it was just horrifying. It was just horrible sound. It was.
Was it a kind of rumble that you felt it? It wasn't just you heard it, but you felt it in your chest.
It was a vibration
through you.
Yeah, it was a vibration.
Oh my God!
And it's interesting. This guy ended up blacking out. So I don't know, whatever was behind me, I guess, didn't give me the full kibosh, because I, of course, didn't black out. We ran, we got out of there. But I don't have it right here, unfortunately. It doesn't look like, anyway. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's here, but it was a horrid sound. Absolutely horrid.
I mean, I'm not surprised also that person remembers all those details, because it sounds like it was horribly traumatizing for him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And unfortunately, we're about out of time, so there's not much show left to go. But I did play that sound last night on the show, or Wednesday, one of the two, either last night or Wednesday. But it's if you find the T-Rex growl that's on a lot of movie sound sites, that's very similar to what the growling that I heard and what I assume this gentleman heard in this story. So that's going to wrap it up for us tonight, folks. Thank you so much for joining us on the Paranormal Portal. We're live Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Not the 28th, the 9th of the 28th. I'm not going to be here to do a show, so do not tune in on the 28th unless you see a posting on social media. All right, love you guys. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern